and we're probably going to be releasing in a short period of time a statewide poll on the Senate race, and looking forward to that. The Senate race, as Jim Brown will tell you, in our lifetimes, we've gone from campaigning 15 months to 6 weeks or less. Campaigns are in Louisiana are quick and fast. I don't know if it's a lack of money or a lack of attention by the voters, but polling at this point in time in this race is relevant, but since none of the candidates aren't that well known, and Jim can comment on this, having been around like I have, it's really different seeing congressmen come home from Washington and run for the United States Senate and nobody knows them.
There is this widespread interest in Louisiana, whether it be the floods, the police shootings, whether it be Mardi Gras, and now the U.S. Senate race that is dominated so much because, it's very important. It could be a key to who controls the Senate. And we have a lot of unknowns down here running. So in spite of my focus normally on national affairs, everybody around the country wants to talk about Louisiana. That's why I'm glad to do these hangouts with you from time to time, Steve.
Well, yeah, Jim will add on to this, but Louisiana is really not competitive for Democrats as far as at the national level. Louisiana has been pretty much anti-Democrats, especially related to Washington, D.C. So you're not seeing Trump or you're not seeing Hillary flying in here. This is considered a likely state for Republicans. We'll start getting some of the national ads, and but you'll see a lot of ads in Louisiana, but it'll be mainly tax related to his Jim plan.
There we go. Now he's back.
Yeah, the U.S. Senate race will get more attention. You'll see more ads, more national ads. But as far as the Trump campaign or the Hillary campaign, they're not going to spend a lot of time in Louisiana. They're going to be fighting it out in what's called the important states, swing states. So Louisiana, the last 2 or 3 presidentials, not a lot of effort is spent by the Democrats in Louisiana, most of the deep South states, but they will be spending some effort and time in here related to the U.S. Senate race.
How about the U.S. Senate race? So what's your take on the U.S. Senate race? Let's talk about that. Bernie?
Well, as Jim and I both alluded to, what Senate race? There's nothing going on. The 2 congressmen aren't a big factor because, as I indicated, you're coming back from Washington and you're going to say, look at all the great stuff I did in Washington. It doesn't work anymore. I come back home, nobody knows them. My first poll on those 2 people were just enlightening to me about how nobody knew these people. The only person who's well known is John Kennedy. He's got that great little slogan, "We have a spending problem." He's well known. He's well liked. He's doesn't have any skeletons. He's been around a long time. It doesn't mean they can't tackle him and slow him down. But I'll tell you something. At this point in time, they better do something pretty quick because he's been there a long time. He's around 30%, and that's a good number. And the rest of them are, barely double digits. And with the 2 Democrats both having money and getting a few whites and plus, well, there's not a lot of whites left out there. So something's got to give. Or Kennedy's going to, at this point in time, at the election of the day, there's nobody thinks Kennedy wouldn't be in the runoff.
Jim, go ahead.
Steve, what I think is interesting about this election is that retail politics are emerging more as a focus. As Bernie said, who is these 2 Republican congressmen in some other part outside the district? Nobody has heard of them. They've not done anything in that regard. I'll tell you a great story about Bobby Jindal. Bobby Jindal is a congressman, as we know, down the 1st District. I went over to Franklin, Louisiana, over where Mike Foster's from. I was over there giving a speech to the Rotary Club. And all this guy in the governor's race wanted to talk about the mayor of Franklin was Bobby Jindal. I said, well, he's not your congressman. He said, Jim, when I was when we got some real serious flooding problems after Katrina, Bobby Jindal called and called and called saying, what can I do to help you? And I said, you're not my congressman. I don't care. I want to help you. Well, to some degree, Foster Campbell and John Kennedy fit that mold. Kennedy has crisscrossed his state for years, played up his office as state treasurer well. Campbell the same way, been the focus for the little guy out there. And they're both leading. And I think there's a lady candidate in this race, Ms. Fayard. As Campbell continues to emerge, there's probably going to be some pressure towards the end of getting her to get out, quite frankly, which gives Campbell a pretty good boost up there if that would happen. The two better-known candidates jumped in with this base of retail politics, and as Bernie said, with 24 candidates, a short window, not much interest, unless you got just a ton of money for direct mail and for TV. I think it's going to be hard to keep the focus away from Campbell and Kennedy being way up there, quite frankly, with Kennedy leading by a good number in the first primaries. I see it just exactly what I think Bernie said.
So last question, and 30 seconds for each. You have Rob Maness and you have John Fleming. Rob Maness did very well in the U.S. Senate race, Tea Party. John Fleming, the most conservative candidate out there, other than, say, David Duke. But they are, I think they have, at least according to the last poll I saw, 4 and 5 points respectively, and Duke 6. So,
well, that's you said it. You have two guys that are canceling each other out. That's one of the problems being at the bottom. Maness looked like so strong he finished third, but when the minute that the congressman got in, who's more conservative, by the way, and the 14th richest congressman in the United States Congress, who's got lots of dollars. So they're canceling each other out. And it's retail politics, as Jim said, with two people very well known, the rest of them, nobody knows them. Even you can talk about Rob Maness all you want, but that election was, a couple of years ago. And look, if you're not in the newspaper every day, nobody knows who our senators are right now. They know Vitter, but if I did a poll right now about what's going on in the United States Senate and asked them to name the two senators, the one that was elected a couple years